Hi, I'm Vicky and I've been a beekeeper for 4 years now, and this is Shelley. How long have you been beekeeping for?
Hi, I started beekeeping just this year.
Oh wow, is it pretty new?
So pretty green, yeah, very green in fact.
Why did you decide to get started?
Well, I heard a lot about bees and the population of bees sort of dying out a little bit, so I was interested in bees in that respect. And then my friend Amanda here at Beaver Creek Ranch grows pumpkins and grows fruits and vegetables and is a bit of a hobby farm, so she has fields that grow food for her animals. So all of that, we were talking about, you know, how nice it would be to get them more pollinated and maybe have more bountiful produce. And she sells the pumpkins in the fall for Halloween. So I thought, well, I kind of want bees and you kind of want pollination, and so let's work together, and here we have the hive.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that was one of the reasons why I also got started in beekeeping, because my parents had plum trees for 10 years or so and never got any plums. And my mom was watching the news one day and she heard that bees were dying out and people were having to pollinate themselves. So that's what we did. We took the middle from the flower on one tree and put it on the other tree, and we had hundreds of plums that year. So then we decided, oh, let's go take this beekeeping course that was a few minutes away from my hometown.
Oh, well, hey.
Yeah, and then we loved it, and 4 years later, we're still beekeeping.
Oh, that's amazing. And you had 4 hives?
We started with 4 hives, and then the one winter, they died out, so now we have 2 hives this year, but eventually we'll work our way up to having more hives again.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, and I just started with the 1 hive this year just to kind of get a feel for it. I'd never handled bees at all or even really been around a hive at all before this one, so I wanted to take it slow so that I could really, you know, get confident about it, and then hopefully next year I'll be expanding.
I know, you wouldn't want to have like 5 hives and then you're struggling with it.
Yeah, and then I don't know if you can hear in the background, but I have a toddler and it's hard to sort of manage her as well as the bees at the same time, and so that was just an exercise of patience and, I don't know, nobility.
So I know a hive has about 65,000 bees in it. How did you feel first getting started when you pulled out a frame to see all those bees?
Oh man, it's exciting. It's a little nerve-wracking too at the same time, because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm responsible for all of these bees. I don't know how many are in there. I started with what's called a nuke.
Yep.
And there was about 10,000 bees, 12,000 bees-ish in the nuke with the queen, and I'm sure they've expanded from there by now. I don't know how many, but 65,000 is definitely an easy number to get to, right?
Yeah, because they just build out their colony and expand, and they like to work, which is why you get so much honey in the end.
Yes, which is very exciting. We're all very excited about getting honey at some point in time, but they work really hard together. The queen lays eggs, as I'm sure you know, in each one of those cells. Not quite each one. There's a pattern of what they do, and it's complicated to sort of start to understand, but you let them do their thing and they work really well. So it's neat.
Yeah, and you can see that the bees are pretty calm, like we're standing in front of it and we haven't been stung yet.
No, not at all. They are investigating us.
Yep.
As you can see, there's one right here by Vicky, but it's just gonna like check us out and be like, hey, you're not a threat.
Yeah, because they want to find out if we're a flower. Because I did put on perfume, so they're probably like, oh, this smells nice.
Probably. Where's the nectar?
Yep. And then when they realize, no, I'm not a flower, they'll move on and find their pollen elsewhere.
Yeah. But generally, like, I haven't been stung yet this year. I've only been doing it for a year. How many times have you been stung?
I think once, but it was also kind of my own fault because I wasn't wearing the proper gloves, and one kind of got stuck on my glove, so it stung my finger. But other than that, that's pretty good, because I blame myself for that, but not doing anything else I haven't been stung for.
Yeah, I hear ya. Hey, you can play with your iguana, it's cool. They're very excited, these bees, and we're gonna smoke them out. And we're gonna take a look inside. I'm gonna light the smoker now, and this is what helps sort of keep the bees calm. They get the smoke, and it's a response for them to go into the hive, and they actually go ahead and eat some of the honey because it's a bit of a survival thing, but it calms them down and makes them a lot easier to handle. And see how they're flying around here? It keeps them like from getting too active as you're working with the hive. So I'm going to just light some newspaper inside the smoker, and I get it going pretty good. This is a bit of an art. I'm not quite mastered at it. You don't want a hot fire. Okay, so I'm using a little newspaper in there and then some burlap. And I don't always get it at first try, but here we got some. So the burlap produces quite a bit of good smoke. There's a little bit of flame there, and then these wood chips that we have here, I add a little of those to it as well, and it helps with the longevity of it all. So hopefully it will stay lit. It doesn't always stay lit, and then you have to sort of check in on it again. But the smoker is currently smoking nicely, as it should. So I'm going to close it up with my gloves. It does get hot. And then you have to use the billows to keep the air flowing inside of there. But the billows also helps spray the smoke across the bees. So here we go. Puff of smoke. Can you see that? So this is our smoker. It's nicely lit. We're getting lots of smoke, and I'm smoking out Vicky right now, which is kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, so we're gonna go into the hive now. The hive currently looks like it has 3 boxes, and it does, because you know we can count to 3. So we have, this is the first brood chamber. This is the second brood chamber, which I added 2 weeks ago. And this here really is just a cover for the feeder, and I'll show you the feeder in one sec. This is the top cover, and it's up a little bit to keep the rain off, as well as add some ventilation. There's a little bit of gap in here so they can come out. And I just have a weight on top too, in case it gets really windy or something. It just makes me feel better that it's gonna stay on. Okay, so here we go. We're going into the hive. I am standing at the side of the hive rather than at the entrance, because you don't want to block the bees from getting into their home. You're always, the goal is that it's their home and you're helping them. This isn't your place. So when you're going into the hive, you really want to make sure that you're respectful of the bees and what they do. Okay, so looks like we have a wasp that they have mortally wounded, and perhaps the bee who mortally wounded the wasp is next to it. I'm not sure, but they take care of themselves, the bees, and they will die for it as well. So there's a close-up of a bee. Oops, and there he goes down. And this is a wasp. So I don't know if, and he is on his way out, but he's still alive. So sometimes wasps come in there. Oh, he's looking to sting. He just stung my glove because he's like angry and sad. But I have these heavy gloves on. And if you can see right here, he literally just put his stinger into me. But that is what wasps, if you don't know, can sting multiple times. One wasp can sting over and over and over again. Honeybees can only sting once. So they have a barb on their stinger, and when they pull out, after they sting you, when they pull out, it actually takes part of them with it and causes them to die. So that is actually why bees don't like to sting, because they literally are taking their lives. And they will lose their lives to protect their family. So here's the feeder, and it fits on top of what's called the top cover. There's a hole here, And the feeder has little tiny holes in it, and it drips out sugar water, like a simple syrup, which is a 1-to-1 ratio of sugar to water, and it helps the bees grow and build out honey and feed themselves and stay nice and healthy. So I'm gonna put it here. Hi, Isabella. So my daughter's over there, and we have this book called The Bee Man that we got, and she loves it. And sometimes she's hanging out in her carriage there, and sometimes she'll call it Bee Man, which I think is really cool because she's already excited about bees. Okay, so here is the top inner cover. And if you notice here, there's a notch. I don't know how much description we want to get into, but this allows some ventilation as well as the hole. And the bees are hanging out up here because the feeder was here, and there's lots of sugar, and they do, in fact, enjoy the sugar water, which is similar to that of what they get from the flowers. So they go and forage as well as they have a bit of a supply here, and the supply helps them with their numbers. So they're hanging out on the top cover, and they're on both sides, as you can see. And they're, when I just had the one brood box on, they would build up some comb in here, but it looks like they've got lots and lots of room with the second box that they haven't even tried to build any comb on top of the thing. I take all the extra comb and I've been collecting it so that I can make like lip balm and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm gonna take the inner cover and I'm gonna put it over here gently and lean it so that it has room to hang out. Okay, so now I'm gonna smoke the bees. I actually probably could have already done that, but I did not. So we're gonna smoke them at the entrance, and this says, "Hey-oh, I'm coming." Just give them a little bit. Okay, that guy's got lots of smoke. He's like, "What's going on? I'm disoriented." Okay, it's like a little bit windy, so we have to be careful about directing the smoke here. So this is our second brood box, and they are building up comb, which is very exciting. Some of these frames had comb on it already, so they were building into that, and then they are also building on new frames. So it looks like they are happy in there. They're moving around. So as I go along and learn, I have learned a little bit about removing the frames. And here's one. Okay, so here's the first one. They have not yet built anything on that one side, nor have they built on this side. And that's okay, they're just like hanging out. They're like, "What's up? We got a new frame to fill in." So I'm just gonna do this so it takes them off the bottom. Okay, there's a little bit of smoke on there, and then I'm going to gently I put them like against the other side. Gently. The one frame gets to come out. Okay, and then it gives us some room to move around inside here. Okay, so I'm pulling out another one, and we move it out gently, just like as before, and take a quick peek in there. "Hey guys, what's happening?" They're like starting, you can see there's some glistening in there, which shows that they are building in some honey. I can point that out to you if you want, right up in, seems sort of in this part here, which is kind of neat. So this means they're just starting up in this frame. So that's food. This whole box here will become food for the bees themselves. You can see there's a lot more activity going on the other side. So what we're looking for here are worker bees, drone bees, and we may even see the queen. Worker bees are a normal sized bee. Drone bees are a little bit bigger, and they have big eyes. Now, I don't know if Vicky can get in, but here's one there. Oh, I'm sorry, Vicky. And then there's one here. He's got giant eyes. Oh, here's one right here on top. That's a big one. And the drone bees, and please forgive me, Vicky, they're the ones who sort of oversee everything, and they're a bit of muscle, aren't they?
Well, the drone bees are male bees.
Yes.
So their only job really is to mate with the queen. So they stay in the hives and don't really do anything. The worker bees are female bees.
Right.
The queen is the only reproducing female. So the worker bees will, when they're young, guard the hive. When they get a little older, they'll go out and collect the pollen and make the honey.
Okay, awesome. See, there you have it. I always forget that the men are the lazy ones. Just saying. Just saying. Just kidding, guys. You work very hard. Just not in a hive. Okay, so we put the frame back in nice and gentle, and then we're going to pull the next one out. There's a bit of some wood chip happening there. I'm going to use my smoker and add a little smoke again here. See when they're all staring up at you? It's sort of cute, but I have since learned that that's also like a defense mechanism. They poke their little heads up and they're ready to do whatever needs to be done, which I understand, because as a respectful beekeeper, we do understand that we are in their home. As much as we are wanting to get honey and resources from them, it is their home. So here we go. This is a new frame, like the first one that was black, but didn't have any comb that they were building on. This one they are building, as you can see. So there's a lot of bees hanging out on there. And then the white, you can see the white comb in there. So they build up the comb and then they fill it with food, which is honey. There we go. And here they are on the other side. See how they have made a lot more progress on the other side. This is a significantly heavier frame. And I can tell there's like...
Yeah, there's a lot more bees.
And look at all the honey. All the glistening, and then on the top you can see where they're building out. Wow, there's a lot of food in there. That's great. And there's a lot more bees, like you say. Sorry, I'm gonna flip it around. Can you see how there's just covered in bees?
Yeah, so once they finish building out this colony, the double brood chamber, all the frames will be filled like this with bees.
That's right. Yay! Very exciting. And once they fill out the double brood chamber, you know what happens? Honey! It's very exciting. That's an exciting part. Okay, so one thing that the bees do is I'm gonna put it like this, is they build out this burr comb, it's called. And you wanna remove that because there's lots of room for them to build within the frames. So I'm gonna put it down here. Hello, bee. Yes, I didn't smoke you, you're right. Okay, whenever I get one on my tool, I try to be really careful and let it either fly off or put it onto somewhere else on the frame. And we'll just scrape it off here. Gently, gently but firmly. And as you can see right here. So one trick I was told about is to take your frame and look at it in the sun, and then you can sort of see through it. Can you see that in the camera? I'm not sure. Maybe if you stand behind me, Vicky, and then we'll shoot right up into the sun. Then you can see through, and it's actually pretty special because you can just see how amazing and organized the bees are. Each comb is perfectly placed, and then you can see the perfectly placed comb on the other side as well. It's pretty cool. Okay, Now, you take the frame out, you got to remember exactly how you took it out, and then put it back in the same way if you can. I'm gonna just put a little smoke on the side. The smoker's still smoking, and then I find, and I don't know if this is a technique, maybe that's a Shelley born technique, I'm not sure, but I don't like to squish the bees when I put the frame back in because, well, I don't like harming the bees and I don't like the sound of a bee being squished. So there you go. I'm going to take this comb and put it right here next to my smoker. I'm going to stoke my smoker a bit, and there you go. And then we're going to continue on. But I'm going to check the baby. That's the hive tool so we can take out the frames. Neat, hey? Cool. Yeah, you see Vicky? Vicky's filming with the camera. Can you say camera? Camera. Ooh. Are you gonna help us with the hive? Are you gonna help us with the hive? She is not afraid of bees at all. It's pretty cool. Okay, thank you. Bee-man! Camera, that's right. That's the honeycomb. That's a honeycomb. She is not nervous at all, and she gets, as you might have heard a few times during this, she gets very anxious because she wants to be right in the thick of everything. But she doesn't quite understand, not that I haven't been stung yet, but she doesn't quite understand that if you pick up a bee, you can be stung. And she wants to touch everything. So we just try to make sure she isn't in harm's way, but also feed her curiosity. Hey, that's the bee comb. Honeycomb. Oh, don't put it in your mouth. See, everything goes in the mouth. Imagine if she picked up a bee and put it in her mouth. That would be something. Okay, are we gonna go over there and take it home with us? Yeah. So on this frame you can see, hopefully, there's eggs, and then you can see just below there's actually the next stage, which is the small larva as it's growing, and then in the middle you're getting into the really much greater long larva. Those are probably like a week old, which is good. This is a good sign of a healthy bee population. This frame was also a brand new frame, so there was no comb on it. So they have, within the past 2 weeks, not only built comb into it, have laid in various stages new bees. And what that means is that the population of the hive is healthy and growing. Thank you so much for being here to take a look at my hive. We're going to close it up. It seems to be doing quite well. Now I made sure there were no bees on the edges, so we're good there. We'll put the feeder back on, and once you turn it upside down, it tends to leak a little, because that's the sugar water, so we'll put it back on here. And then the cover part, and this cover, and my weight. And now it's time to go tend to my very interested bee child. Hi! She gets anxious because she really wants to be a part of it. Hey? Can you say bye? Can you say bye-bye? Thank you.